right?
Hey, whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat, right?
Yeah,
if you want to cert to, I've come across a lot of people like that too, like in certifications and shit. They're taking it for themselves. Like they're not a coach, they're not a trainer. They're few and far between, but people, especially these days, they want information. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah. Well, you figure too, even if it is an expensive cert, if it's gonna help them perform better, if it's maybe they don't want a personal trainer right now.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
I mean, personal training adds up quick, but
definitely does. Definitely does.
And you can't replace it though.
Right.
You really can't.
Mm-hmm.
You get all certed up all you want, but you can't take your eyeballs out and put them up on a shelf unless you video yourself, and you're still subjective.
And
you're still
it's difficult. So, are you an actual trainer? Or are you a coach, or like what is your deal? Like, so on your days off the firehouse, you're training people, or
So that's been sort of like intermittent. It was more like I would just do it mostly people I know and things.
Okay.
And like if I just like had time, and I wasn't like I was being picky. I just wanted to be able to give the amount of time that was necessary.
Sure.
And really, if the person they were only like half-ass into it, I was like, I'm not gonna.
It wasn't,
Yeah.
Wasn't excited for you.
So that was like throughout, and then a little while ago, and this is how I met Ming. I actually partnered up with somebody and opened a gym in Asbury Park called Beach Box.
Right.
And it was a partnership that went to hell in a handbasket very quickly after I invested.
Yeah.
And I just had to get out because all the reasons I was getting into it, we weren't aligned. We're not aligned. He really I can't blame the guy. Desperate to make it hit and everything, and I'm thinking more long term. Let's just cultivate it grassroots, organically.
Right.
Let's build and create a strong following. And he was all gimmicky and all over the place.
Yeah.
So I had that.
Does he still have the gym?
I stepped away from it.
I mean, you stepped away, but does he still have it going?
Oh, yes.
He does. Okay. Okay.
But ironically, I made friends with like everybody in that strip mall. And there's a yoga studio there. And they said, if you ever want to come back and train, we'd love to have you. I'm like, I don't know what to do in your yoga studio. And then the steel mace thing came up. So I'm going to I showed it to the guy, and the guy's like, this is fantastic. He's like, what can you do here? And can we put mats down to protect the floor? I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I'll even go get wood maces.
Okay.
They're like little 3-4 pound wood
they have
maces.
wooden ones?
Yeah. They're hardwood.
Onnit sells them, or?
No, Primal Flaw.
Okay.
A doctor uses them to like rehab patients and stuff.
Right.
And I was training a girl, strong girl, but she just, it's weird, that whole thing. And I had her using this 3-pound mace, and I had her swinging right,
Right.
And it was. What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, what's up, dude? How are you, bro? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh my God, my mind's blown right now. It's a crossover.
I know, I love it.
Of epic proportions.
Yeah, you better step back, and there's gonna be some fireworks.
Yeah, it's gonna be an explosion in here.
Avengers Infinity War? Nah.
Fred Moore, Chris Tutela, man. Iron Life, Build, Burn, Become.
We never get crossovers.
Oh, today's a first.
I'm so excited.
So I think everything's started already. So yeah, you guys are.
All right.
That's good. Yeah, just check the audio levels. I'll be in the other room.
Cool.
All right, word.
Yeah, so we're doing Fred's, and then we're gonna do mine once we wrap up.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Awesome.
And I'll get you set up
Do you
after.
want to do like a full hour, or how do you?
Yeah, whatever you
Like,
want.
do you? All right.
Like, so when I do mine, it's just kind of wherever it goes. You know, if it's 45 minutes, if it's 40 minutes, an hour, I'm good for whatever.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to do.
Do you heavily prepare, or do you kind of just go in with a
I usually have bullet points. I have some for you today, but I feel like since we're doing a conversation beforehand, that it's going to be a little bit easier for the second conversation.
Right.
But I always have a couple bullet points on what I want to cover. And
Do you want headphones?
I got.
And
word.
for each episode, I always have a topic and then some bullet points, just in case, so there's not like dead air if I start to lose like track of what I want to say next. I'm like, oh, okay, have something else. Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing bullet points and stuff like that, but for the most part, I haven't done many monologues. And
You always have a guest on the show?
I usually have a guest.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got to start doing more monologues.
Okay.
And I just that's like a sticking point for me. Well, just a little unsure about how to. I just got to dive into it.
Right.
I just got to dive into
Just
it.
doing it. Yeah. This was I I just recorded episode 7, so I'm by no means an expert, but
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of catching my stride and getting it now.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. You're good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's totally good. I mean, I've watched, episode 5 was dope. I was like,
thank you.
Yeah, man, this is gonna be a good podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Let's get into it. Definitely excited.
Yeah,
I'm good to go. Let's see, test.
Everyone got a good headphone volume, not too loud, not too soft.
I think I'm all right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, awesome. All right, you guys can start when ready.
All right, here we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Build, Burn, Become. I'm your host, Fred Moore, as usual. And today I have a very special guest, Chris Tutela from Clark, New Jersey. What's up, man? How you doing?
Fred, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for having me. This
Absolutely.
is awesome.
This is great having you. Chris, you are the owner-operator of Tutela Training Systems.
Yep.
You're a fitness expert.
Yes, sir.
And you're a life strategist,
Yes, sir.
which I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
Strategy, tactics. That's what I'm all about. You're also, you've been at it since 2006,
Yep.
so you're definitely earning your chips in the game here. You got a lot to say. You have your podcast, Iron Life podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You're a writer on Elite FTS. What do you have, about 20 articles on there?
It's got to be somewhere, maybe even more than that, but something in that range, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I want to get into that. You're a writer. That's really cool. What else? Train Heroic. What's Train Heroic?
So Train Heroic was a website that I've contributed to in the past as well. So that was more based. That website is more for athletes and athletic performance.
Uh-huh.
So I wrote a couple articles for them back in the day.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then here you go. They're talking about athletes and everything. Former coach of Union High School football.
Yep.
So to the audience, this is something that I learned over the past 28 years. I've always had personal trainers and stuff. Some good, some not so good. Never had a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody means well and everything. But the one thing I have learned is, if you guys want to go out and get yourself a personal trainer, the best ones to get are the ones that have strong athletic background, coaching athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to realize that those work the best, at least for first responders. Because the whole concept of Build, Burn, Become is let's take a step back. It's not just a job. Firemen, cops, military, EMS workers. It's a lifestyle, and you are a tactical athlete. So how do athletes behave? What do they have to do? How do they train?
Yeah.
So I was really psyched with your 5th episode.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, training guide for first responders.
Yes.
Now, I'll tell you something, Chris. I could just take that episode right now and plug it into this podcast and just walk away from it, and it's done. That's it. You said everything that needs to be said.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great. So I know you have a pretty interesting background. We talked a little bit about that.
I do.
If you want to just start off with the beginning of your story, how you got to where you are now, and let's hear about where you stopped off along the way.
Yeah, no doubt. So I've always been into fitness. Even as a kid, I was watching the Rocky videos and doing push-ups in my living room, and my mom would want to kill me because I would be punching the side of her couch and destroying it.
Right.
so I was always always intrigued with training, and as I got older, I was wrestling, I was playing football. My cousin, who's a name in the industry, his name is John Alvino. He's a renowned strength conditioning coach as well. And he was, at the time when I was growing up, bodybuilding, so I was always also looking up to him. And something that I was always interested in. And when I was once I graduated high school, he had an opportunity for me to work at his training facility. At the time, it was called Iron Athletes in Morristown, and there we had a lot of high-level athletes, high-level collegiate athletes, high school guys, and then as far as the general population, you name it, we worked with them. Police officers, firefighters, military personnel, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, I got into this business when I was 18 years old, and as I was kind of going through it, there was a lot of confusion in my life. Like, so a lot of my background, my family history, so my brother's actually a drug addict, and he's been hooked on drugs for about 15 years. So as you can imagine, that rubs off on the family. And, you know, for me as a younger brother, caused a lot of stress and anxiety and overwhelm and not sure. You know, I didn't really have, you know, I love my family, I love my parents to death, but I didn't have the guidance that I probably needed in order to get to the next level of my life and really have direction, right? So I was very confused, and it led to a deep depression for me, like with my brother being on drugs and all that. So I was always training people. I was always into fitness. However, I kind of hit a point in my life where I was lost and I was confused. Now, after a few years of being in the industry, a couple friends and myself decided, like, let's really train hard. Let's really hammer a diet. Let's really make some crazy progress. So myself and 3 of my friends, we got really shredded up. We dieted our faces off for about 16 weeks. But what I always tell people is through that experience and using discipline to create a physical transformation, that opened up so many doors for me in my own life, because once I got out of that 16-week, you know, we were training our asses off, we were dieting our faces off, so we're really getting after it. Once I came out of the other side of that, all of a sudden I had more clarity, I had more structure. I just felt like a different person. So then it was around when I was 21 that I really said, holy shit, this changed my life so much for the better. I need to show other people like what is possible if you apply this stuff to your life. So that's when I really started getting super, super passionate about training and helping other people. From certifications to doing research to, like, this became my life. So yeah, fast forward now, I own Tutela Training Systems, like you said, in Clark, New Jersey. We have about 150 people, tiny facility, about 1,000 square feet. Yeah, so I've been doing that. I also do remote nutrition coaching now. And the one big piece of the puzzle that I didn't mention was that I actually was a firefighter. Right. So in 2000, I opened my gym in June of 2012. In August of 2012, I got hired as a firefighter here in New Jersey for the Springfield Fire Department, and I was a firefighter for nearly 4 years. I decided, and a lot of people call me crazy for this. Yes. I got a lot of shit for this one. But I decided after about 4 years to walk away. And the reason was because I was so obsessed and passionate about training, and my business was growing so rapidly that I came to a point in my life where I said, I need to decide whether I'm going to be a fireman and I'm going to have an okay business, or I'm going to take this to the next level and I'm going to go all in. And since I did that, my business quadrupled. It's still growing. I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing a lot of other things that I wouldn't have had the ability to do because, you know, running a business there's a lot more work to it than meets the eye. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So we have, you know, almost 50 hours a week of actual training sessions on the floor, 150 people, you know, from everything from the marketing, the writing emails, doing this podcast. We do something else called TTS Talk. Just creating strategies, game planning, like all this stuff takes a lot of time. So for me, I felt it was the best decision, and I'm very happy with that crazy decision, but it was one that worked for me.
Right. Now, would you, as a life strategist, that sounds like it was like maybe your first strategic, at least your major strategic decision that you made to leave the fire service, right? And
on the surface, at least, because there was a lot of decisions like building up to that I was making, but once I made that decision, that was one of like, that's what all these other little decisions kind of led to, you know? So now all of a sudden everybody's like, what the hell, Chris lost his mind? It's like, I know, it looks like I lost my mind. Trust me, guys, I'm okay. But it was about a year of planning and creating strategies in order to be able to walk away. I would never suggest anybody just quits their job and just says, fuck it, I'm quitting.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, especially that particular job, because everybody knows it's a hard job to get. A lot of firemen, when they get the job, they say, you know, they won the lottery. Yes. You know, right? I mean, it's hard to get, and then it is a great job because The benefits, the pay are there and everything. Yes, it's a very difficult job. It beats you up and everything, but so do a lot of other jobs.
Right.
If your heart's there, you could really make it a great career, and it gives back. So
no doubt.
To make that decision was big.
It was. And I want to say, too, like, I respect the hell out of the job and the career. Like, I admire what you do. You know, it's definitely something that I took a lot of pride in when I was there. And I loved, you know, being a firefighter and doing the job. It was something that I was passionate about, and I always wanted to learn. I took a couple college courses, and, you know, I was actually a retired Elizabeth fireman. What's his name? He runs a course at Union County College.
Oh,
long hair. He has a ponytail.
Was it Earl?
Earl.
Yeah.
Yes. That's him. I took a couple courses with him.
Right.
So it was something that I had passion for, but, you know, like I said, I just got to a point where I had to pull the trigger on it one way or the other if I wanted to level up here, and that's what I did.
Now let me ask you another question with this decision you made. You must have went to your closest friends, family, and whomever to help you make this decision. What was that like?
Yeah, so I only told maybe 4 or 5 people that I was going to make that decision, because I knew if I told too many people, I was going to get a lot of negative feedback, and I didn't want that to deter the decision that I already made.
Okay.
Right? So I definitely went to a couple people, and I just said, look, this is what I'm thinking. And some people said, dude, I respect what you do, and I know that if you are doing this, you're doing it for the right reasons. You know, I wasn't just saying, like, screw it, I'm quitting this job because I don't feel like doing it anymore. Like, It was because my heart was in the right place. And I think that my closest friends and family members, they knew that.
Right.
So it wasn't like they were, they probably were surprised. You know, I can't say that they weren't surprised, but I think that they knew where my heart was at, and they supported me. Yeah. But the people that I knew wouldn't support me, I didn't even discuss it with them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you're almost creating. You're creating an art. Is it artificial kind of thing? Like you're pushing away the people that give you the negative.
Right.
That's an interesting choice to make. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. It worked for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes you want to gather intelligence from both sides of the aisle, right?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know what the people that I did discuss this with, I didn't know if they were going to say, like, you know, you're crazy, don't do it, but I knew that there were some people that were just going to be negative and only think of the other side of it. And they were so one-sided that I knew if I told them, like, for instance, my father, I didn't tell my own father because he's an old school Italian dude, you know, like, so I knew for him, you know, the pension and the salary and walking away from that, he would have never understood that, you know. So I didn't talk to him about it until afterwards. Yeah. So, I get what you're saying. Like, you want to see one side of it. You don't want to just see one side of it. You want to see both. But I didn't know what the people that I told were going to say. Yeah. But I knew that these are close people that I really value their opinion, whether they tell me I'm nuts or they tell me go for it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make in their lives is they're ready to make a big decision. They know what they want to do in their heart, but then they get talked out of it by somebody that they care about. Right. And my advice to people is always, if you have something that you want to do, don't tell a million people about it, because you're going to get so many different opinions that it's going to drive you crazy, and that's going to lead to some type of paralysis, and all of a sudden you're not going to take any action on it, and then you're stuck.
Right.
You know? Right.
Yeah, so, I've been there with that before. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So now you're at this point where you're going to start a business, which let's face the fact, you know, there's a lot of gyms.
Yeah.
So now you're going head to head with established gyms and everything, and now you know you do have a reputation of being a good trainer. I've heard of you.
Thank you.
So you obviously fared through that, but coming back to that decision, that point of decision, it's like I'm heading into like Death's Valley here. Like there's gonna be wreckage, you know.
I was burning the bridges.
Yeah, dude. That's got to be an exhilarating feeling.
Yeah,
right?
it really was. And like I said, I've had so much passion for this business and coaching people and helping people over the years. You know, for a long time, you know, in the early days of my career, I was doing it for free. You know, I had friends that I was training. I was writing meal plans for people. Yeah. A lot of the high school athletes that I was training at Union High School, when they graduated, I was preparing them for college football, but they didn't have the finances to pay for training. Like, I was doing that for free just because they were my guinea pigs. You know, I'm like, all right, let's play around with this. Let's play around with that. That was one of the best summers of my life. You know, all of us, we had a great time preparing for their summer football camps. So yeah, where the hell was I going with that? But yes, just I appreciate you saying that because it is something that I've had so much passion for. And when I was leaving the safe job, so to speak, it was an exhilarating feeling because I knew that I couldn't be stopped. This is what I love to do. I love it too much to let anybody get in my way of building something special. And you know, now what, like, Tutela Training Systems, TTS, what we are, is way beyond just, hey, we own a gym over here. Like, we are a family, and all my members will tell you we're a family. I want my gym to be a home away from home. That goes back to, you know, why I started and why I started becoming so passionate about this, where, you know, my family life at home wasn't so great. Training for me was my escape. That was my way to get my anger out, to get that depression out, to get all that energy. Yeah, you have to have a physical outlet. And if you just let that shit build up inside of you, that's where disease comes from. That's where, you know, frustration and just, you know, you live this unfulfilled life. If you let that stuff kind of bottle up inside, and it builds and builds and builds, at some point, there's going to be a breaking point. And I've seen that in family members and people that I've worked with over the years. You know, it may not have really come to a head until they're in their 60s or 70s, but at some point it will. Yeah. So that's why I really have so much passion for creating this environment that we have. Nice. Yeah.
So now the family that you create, that you have, these are your members, the people that work with you. How many people do you have working with you?
So I have 3 employees. Okay. Yeah, 3 employees, or team members, as I like to call them, and then, like I said, about 150 and counting actual members training at our facility. Yeah. Yeah.
What are your hours? Do you have like 5 a.m. classes or anything like that? You do.
Yeah, we have 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 4:15, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:15.
Yeah. I like to look at the 5 a.m. crowd and see, because that's a special breed right there.
That is for damn sure, man. If any of those guys are listening right now, they're smiling. Yep. They are out of their minds.
Yeah, I've experienced the 5 a.m.ers, and it's just a whole other thing. And you know, when you got that 5 a.m. class and you got to be there to open up the door, it's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get down there. They're gonna be there waiting, right? You don't want to.
Yep, they're there before the coaches. Yeah, for the most part. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's and I for a while I was doing that myself. I just had to get up early and train. It was the only way it worked out. That was like a good 3 years straight. I did that for. And I still get up early, but I play the game a little different. I get up and I do other things now, just, I read and stuff like that. Nice. And then I go train a little bit later. I just couldn't grind it out anymore. But it's a special feeling. And I'm sure when they get done with their class, they're all like smiles, right? Heading out the door. Yep. And they're going on to conquer life. Like, that's special time.
That 5 a.m., that's probably our loudest crew. Like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, everybody's half asleep, but people, they show up, they're bringing it, man. Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. It's a lot of fun.
Now, I grabbed a quote off of your website, which I really like. Become the you that you have the potential to become. Yeah. And interestingly enough, the reason why I like this was I called the podcast Bill Byrne Become. Right. Become is in there. And it's interesting that, thinking in the lines of fitness and everything and training not only mentally, physically and everything. Right. The potential that a person has to become something. Right. And to harness that and to actually, as a coach, as a trainer, you could help that person achieve almost anything that they want, right? They're going to become what they want to become. Maybe they have something ideal in mind, and it just slightly is off a little bit because it's more of a journey, right?
Right.
But how often do you see this happening with your clients, and what does it make? How does it make you feel inside? Like, is this the key moment for you?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm in this business for. Like I think, in my 20s, I was kind of like, yeah, I want to train athletes. I want to get guys strong and explosive and powerful, and that stuff's great. It's fun, like I was saying, training the athletes. And if you could help somebody prepare for their career or for a college program, right? Then that's great. But what I really love doing now is more of that personal development type of work. And what I always tell my members is that, look, like fitness, health and fitness is like the conduit to a different life. Like and I tell people that from my own experience, like it changed my life. It changed the person, like the person that I was before I really got into this and we really started doing that diet that I told you about and training like lunatics. Before that, I was somebody who was sleeping till 3 in the afternoon, going to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was eating fast food at all hours of the night. I was drinking a lot of alcohol, and I was depressed, man. I was overweight. I was just not in a good place mentally. And what I found is that once I dialed in through this, and what I tell my clients and my members is that, listen, whatever you want to accomplish is right here. And I believe that getting your fitness in check, that's the step one, because you're going to feel better. You're going to have more mental focus and clarity, right? You're not going to have that brain fog from eating like shit. You're going to have more energy. You're going to sleep better. You're going to look better. So you're going to have more confidence. So that opens up the door, and then it's up to you, because what we're really doing is building the right lifestyle habits in order for you to become something better, whatever that is for you, right? Like just a better version of yourself, right? I know that's kind of cliche these days, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, step one, health, fitness. Let's get that in check. You asked me how many of my members actually accomplish that. I would say that a lot of them get there. A lot of them are on their way. It depends on where they are at when they come to us in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Like you might come to our gym and you're already in a place where like, all right, I'm already kind of training. I'm just looking to get better. And then after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, whatever it is, all of a sudden you are now leveling up. So now that's going to take you just a few steps closer to that, that real transformation. And that's why I do offer a few extra additional programs for my own members. One is called the Game Changer program, where that's where, of course, we go over a nutritional program and stuff like that. But it's also like for 90 minutes, 3 times over the course of an 8-week program, we really dive a little bit deeper into their mission, their vision for their life, what their daily habits are, how to change the habits, how to create better habits, all that stuff. So it really depends.
Right.
I can't give you a number off the top of my head of how many people, but there certainly are a lot who do and a lot who are on their way, and it's amazing to see that.
Is the Game Changer a sit down one-on-one kind of?
We cap the program at 20 people, and then within that program, over the course of the 8 weeks, we have 3 meetups. And I do a presentation. You kind of do a little bit of deep diving and stuff like that. And really, I want each individual to kind of tap into themselves a little bit and think about the shit that most people don't think about. Like, what is the purpose that you want to leave? What is the purpose that you want in this life, right? Like, what's the footprint that you want to leave on this planet? Because, listen, we're all going somewhere, right? We're not going to be here forever.
Right.
So I think a lot of people live their lives like they're going to live forever, and then one day it ends abruptly.
Right.
And something that I don't know if it was it Les Brown or somebody said that the richest place in the world is the cemetery, because that's where so many people go and they die with their hopes and with their dreams and all this shit that they have inside of them. Like, I wanted to do this, but I never did it. It goes
Yeah.
back to what we said before. Somebody shoots down your dreams,
Right.
and now all of a sudden you never did it. You never acted on it because somebody else told you that you can't. I say, fuck that.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I curse on you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, you have to live this life for you. And yeah, I think I went off on a tangent there. but-
I love it. I love tangents. Tangents are the best. Yeah. That's where you get to see the raw that we like that. And yeah, you got to live with some self-discipline and some self-love.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this game changer thing actually sounds like a game changer because I don't see many gyms offering something like that.
Right.
What a great idea. And
Thank
you know, so basically you start off with basically a small speech or something, getting everybody thinking in a certain direction on what to focus on.
Right.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and a lot of I tell my clients this in my remote nutrition coaching program too, because what we're doing, like, yes, we're gonna cover a lot of nutrition stuff, and the same thing goes for the Game Changer program. Like we're diving deep into nutrition because over 8 weeks we're looking to make a physical transformation. But a physical transformation is only a result of a lot of mental transformations as well, right? Like you have to dial in on developing the right habits, getting rid of the bad habits in order to make physical changes too. So what we're really doing is we're developing the lifestyle habits that are going to lead you to your goals.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And now this sounds very interesting in terms of fire service, right? Or first responders in general. What I've come over my 16 years to see, just with me, I'm not even looking at the other guys. I'm just as susceptible.
Right.
If you don't have these strong habits and backups and stuff like that in place, the lack of sleep, the stress, and everything will start to take those chunks out of you.
Right.
And it's happened to me plenty of times. In fact, it happened last night on shift. I had about 3 granola bars at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Because you know why? At 2 o'clock in the morning, you're a different person,
Yeah.
especially when you're sleep deprived.
Right.
And you know what? I deserve my granola bars now.
Mm-hmm.
Now today, I say, what was I thinking?
Right.
So obviously, we're gonna regress. We're gonna have our breaking points, but if you could actually have a mindset type of curriculum like you're offering, where you could teach people, especially the first responders, how to navigate those pitfalls, that would be so beneficial to the first responders. Again, it's not going to necessarily make them indestructible, but it could help.
Right.
You know, any little bit could help. Do you have for a lot of first responders as clients? Or?
Yes, I do. We do. Yeah. We have a ton of police officers, firefighters.
Are they in this game changer?
Some of them are. Yeah. So we do this probably about 4 times a year.
Yeah.
So we get a different crew every time we run it.
Do they share those types of stories with you?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of stress of the job and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of, I always say this. There's so much that first responders face that 99% of the general public does not realize, right? And that's going to have some type of impact on your life, whether you recognize it or not. So being able to bring that stuff to the surface and handle that stuff, talk about it, whatever, just get rid of some of that stress, I think is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. I mean, for everyone listening, this is the type of stuff that I've been talking about for a while. You got to find a trainer near you, wherever you are. Talk to them, see what they can actually help you with, and be 100% honest. It's not a weakness. You're gonna feel better. The trainer's gonna know what they're up against with training you, and they're gonna know how to prepare you for these things. So if anybody's in the Union County area, in your Clark, go see Chris, right?
Tutela training
Yeah,
systems.
absolutely.
Come on by. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just add to that, because you said that it's not a weakness. And I think as men, and I would assume there's a lot of men listening to this show, right? As men, we look at asking for help like it's a weakness.
Right.
But it's actually a strength. Like, if you have the balls to ask somebody else for help who could potentially help you, like, that takes something. You know that it's a lot easier to just say, screw it, I'll do it on my own, and then never do it.
Right.
But you asking for help, talking to somebody, getting the shit out, like that's only going to help you. That's only going to make you a stronger person than you are right now.
Right.
So don't ever look at it as a weakness. You have to look at this as a win. Look at this as a strength. If you want to take your life to the next level, there's always going to be somebody else out there that could lend a helping hand, right?
Right.
Like you said, whether it be a trainer, whether it be a therapist, whether it be someone that you could talk to, whatever the hell it is. But if you need help getting from point A to point B, don't think that it's weak for asking for help.
Right.
Okay? Ask for help, and you'll get to point B a lot faster. And then guess what? You're leading by example. So you're going to impact other people who see you doing that, people who might look up to you, and then they're going to do it too. So now you're impacting other people's lives by you just changing your own.
Yeah, very
And
good.
I think that's very, very powerful shit.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. And you know the you're gonna get a mixed bag when it comes to first responders. Some guys and girls they're gonna step up to the plate, right?
Right.
They're gonna say, all right, I got to do something. I gotta treat my health better. But then you get the guys that almost like say, you know what, what's the point?
Right.
Right. What can we say to them?
You know, it's hard. It's hard because I think that no one is going to change until they're really ready to make a change. But, you know, my advice to those people is to realize that it's not just right now, like saying that is a very selfish thing. Like if you just say like, what's the point? What's the point? Well, you got people who love you. You got people who care about you. And even if you're somebody who maybe you live alone, you don't have family, right? But if you're in that career, if you're a firefighter, if you're a police officer with that attitude, you're affecting your brothers and sisters who are alongside of you in the heat of battle, right?
Right.
So if you're neglecting your health, you're really doing a disservice not only to yourself, but the people who are alongside you in a burning building or, you know, fighting crime, if you want to call it that, right?
Right.
But whatever it is, you got to realize that there's something to this that's bigger than yourself. So maybe start there. You know, if you're someone who's just says, what's the point, whatever, and you're not in the right headspace and you're just saying, oh, well, I'm going to die anyway. What do I care?
Right.
You know, don't say I'm going to die anyway. Like, well, do you want to die faster? Like,
Right.
if that's the case, like, then yeah, just keep smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and eating like shit. Like,
Yeah.
don't exercise. Like, yeah, fine, but guess what? Like, you don't set your brothers and sisters up for disaster or for failure because of your actions or lack of actions, right?
Yeah, it's the team. You know, you're doing you're playing with a team.
Exactly.
Got the rest of the people there that are counting on you, and you know, the better teams always have the guys and girls striving to not be the weakest link.
Right.
So now, if somebody did come to you, I think a lot of people when they start their fitness journey, they're intimidated. You know, especially guys, because they think they're supposed to be like strong. And
we all want to be stronger than the next guy, right?
Right. They don't want to have to go in and admit that they could only curl 15-pound dumbbells or whatever. Yeah. You know, how would you intake somebody in?
Yeah. So whenever we bring people in, you know, the first thing that I tell them, you know, because we always start off with an orientation. We want to see, you know, how they move, what their injuries are, what their weaknesses, if they're on any medications, anything like that, right? So when they come in, the first thing that I tell them is, look, we used to have a sign up on the wall, check your ego at the door, right? This isn't about ego, just how much you could lift. That doesn't make sense. If you're just in it to push numbers, it's not the right place for you, because what we're going to teach you is how to do things properly, how to do them well, quality of movement, you know, mastery of execution of the movement. And that's what really matters, because what are you in this for, right? Are you in this to just say, hey, I use 100-pound dumbbells on a dumbbell press and somebody else use 95s? Or are you in this for health, better health and longevity? Of course, we want to look good, you want to feel good, you want to get stronger, but you also want to be in this for the long haul, right? So if you're just destroying your shoulders set after set, right, or your knees or your hips because you're just concerned with the number that you're lifting, then you're not doing yourself, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, because at some point you're going to get hurt. And the one thing that's going to lead to better progress is consistency. And if you can't be consistent because you're hurt, then what the hell are we doing this for? So that gets the ego in check. But the other side of it, if you are someone who's intimidated to get the ball rolling, and you got to understand that when you're working with a good coach or a program, we're there to help, right? We're not going to make you do something that you're not capable of doing just because it looks cool on YouTube, right? Like, something that drives me nuts, what a lot of trainers do is like, they think that just by making you tired, it's like, oh man, that's a killer workout. That's a good workout. Like, anybody could make you tired. I just had Joe DeFranco on my podcast for this episode that's coming out next week, episode 7.
Right.
And it's something that we were talking about too. Like, anyone could make you tired. I think any of us could say, all right, do 100 burpees, run around the building, do another 100 burpees, run around the building. Like, yeah, you're going to be really fucking tired if you do that. Doesn't mean that you got better. So you shouldn't judge a workout by how tired you feel. You shouldn't judge a workout by if you're throwing up all over the place. Like, did you get better? Is there a progressive plan in place that we're going to follow? Is there actual coaching and correcting the exercises, right? Because if you're doing an exercise and it looks like shit, if a coach doesn't come and correct it for you, then you should fire them, right? You shouldn't be working with them. Is it a one-size-fits-all thing, or is there modifications? Because if you're like, hey, I just had shoulder surgery, and your trainer's like, all right, well, we're benching today, no matter what. Like, you're jumping in on the bench with the rest of the group. Like, fire that person immediately.
Yes.
So, so back to being intimidated. If you're working with the right people, there's no need to be intimidated because they're only going to help you get better. And if it's a group training facility, if it's the right group training facility for you, that means that everybody there is going to be supporting you and helping you and wanting you to get better. It's not about who lifted more. It's not about who did more reps. It's about how we all collectively got better today as a whole.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a major stumbling block for a lot of guys. You know, just they know they're going to be uncomfortable already, and then they got it all up in their head that they're going to walk in and they're going to feel like crap for the most part because it's new for them.
Right.
And somebody's gonna be laughing at them. Hey, look at a guy you can't,
Right.
And
it's never the case.
No, never.
You would have to be training with some real assholes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I have not even really seen. I've been to some pretty weird gyms and stuff. I've never even seen it like that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So
most of the time everybody's just fighting their own battle and you gotta give support because you want support back, right? It's
absolutely
it's an equal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the fire service, the police service, there's a lot of back injuries.
Yeah.
Then in fire service, there's high rates of cancer, and heart disease, and stuff like that. So ultimately, if you have one of these first responders step into your gym and you're working with them, and they start to see results, they start to feel better, their blood work starts to look better and everything, that's a win. As far as changing the entire system as it is, this is a pretty deep question.
Yeah.
But there's outfits out there like O2X and stuff like that where they're working with fire departments, but it's only like small amount and everything. From your point of view, just your opinion or whatever, what's a good way to go to the top management, the politicians or whatever, and what's a good way to say, hey, you guys should have a fitness program? What's a good way to get them to incentivize maybe a diet plan or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have the answer, but what I would say is exactly the points that you made. Like, firefighters are predisposed to certain illnesses, cancers, bloodborne pathogens, heart disease, right? Like, you are already at a greater risk because of the demands of the job. So if that's the case, what could we all do collectively to try to reduce the risk that's already there, right? And a good nutrition program is absolutely proven, right? I don't think there's any debate here to reduce your risk of certain cancers, right? Because we're going to be reducing inflammation. So something that I always tell first responders is that if you're eating inflammatory foods like sugars, flours, other processed foods, then now you're in a chronic state of inflammation, which already compromises your immune system and makes you more susceptible to disease and illness. If your job is creating something where you're more susceptible to these diseases, now it's like a double dose. Like you're eating like shit,
Right.
you know, you're not taking care of yourself. So now you're at a greater risk of these diseases. So why not put something in place where now it's maybe, you know, I don't know, just somehow run by the department to put a good, thorough nutrition and training program in place. Really, look, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of firefighters, right?
Yeah, right.
So, you know, why wouldn't there be some type of exercise program in place? To me, that doesn't make sense. I don't know if I have the answers because I don't understand the politics side of it, you know, and I don't want to seem ignorant by talking about it like I am. But
yeah, no,
but that's what I would say is like let's just bring the facts
right.
to the higher ups and discuss, you know, the significance here and how this could potentially save people's lives. I think that is there's a lot of weight in that.
Yeah, yeah. I asked the question really for my own benefit because it's like one of the little, well, it's one of the bigger goals I have is to somehow make an impact before my exit from the fire service.
That's amazing. And
you know, I reach out to, you know, anybody with knowledge such as yourself. You know, what do we do? How do we change? You know, over 100 years of this tradition,
culture that's
and
already
culture.
there, right?
Yeah, it's and of course, you know, when you talking to politicians, it always comes down to money. You know, and what's it going to cost to implement a nutrition program? And
right.
and there is facts out there now, like you know, wherever they've implemented some type of program, they actually see reduced sick leave. They see their healthcare costs dropping.
Wow.
You know, so there's the savings, right? There's the savings. So there is a glimmer of hope there.
And also, I would assume, you know, I'm just guessing here, but morale, I would assume, would improve amongst the department too, right? Because when you know it as well as I do, when you're training with people, it's training with a group of people. Now, if you're training with the guys and girls that are on your shift, you're going to develop a little bit of a tighter bond, a deeper bond and you guys already have a deep bond, right? By the stuff that you go through together. But now you do that, it's a positive thing. I think that will bring up morale. I think that, you know, that just having that camaraderie on a different level than the tasks of your job,
right?
I think it's only going to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's good. You know, one of these days you might get that phone call. I'm going to say, hey, Chris, you gotta come down and you got to stand up at the podium with me and lay some knowledge down. And,
I would love to.
Yeah. You know, any way you could change the world for the better.
Yeah,
you know?
and like you said, man, like you're asking yourself, how could you leave an impact before you leave the fire service, man? You already are, dude. Like having these conversations, like having a podcast, taking the bull by the horns here, you're spreading the information and the knowledge that's necessary to create change. So by you doing this, brother, like, you know, kudos to you for stepping up and doing something like that.
Thank you.
That's how you are going to leave your mark.
Yeah, thank you. That feels good to hear. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, so you know, this is a great conversation. How do people? What's your best way for people to reach you? You've got a lot of social media going on, right? So
I got a lot of stuff going on. So the best way to reach me would be on Instagram. I'm at Chris_Tutela, Tutela. I'm also on Facebook, Chris Tutela. I also have a Facebook page, Tutela Training Systems. You could go to my YouTube channel, which is Chris Tutela. And now, weekly, I'm dropping episodes of the Iron Life podcast with Chris Tutela. And that's anywhere where you could get this shit.
Yeah, okay.
iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify and all the stuff that Ming helps me with.
Yeah, right. Right. And incidentally, so you have the podcast and then you have a YouTube series.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference there?
Yeah, so the difference is, so TTS Talk, right? Tutela Training Systems, TTS Talk. It's myself and my head strength coach. His name is Ruben Borges. We started it kind of not knowing what we were doing with it. And we were just kind of, it was like our way of maybe starting a podcast and just giving information. It's about 30 minutes, so they're a little bit shorter. But now what it's kind of turned into is bringing our members on as guests and having them tell their stories.
All right.
So now that we've had people talk about depression and mental illness and drug addiction, and our guest Michelle, her episode's gonna be dropping next week. She's actually 35 weeks pregnant and she's still training with us, and she was talking about her experience.
Love that.
Yeah, so we got our members telling their stories, which is really cool.
Wow, Chris, that is really significant. I mean, to get your members to want to step up and talk.
Yeah.
That says a lot about the kind of culture you've created there.
Thank you. Yeah,
definitely. That's very inspiring. I got to stop by your place for.
I'd love to have you.
Get a little workout.
Get a workout.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
That's great. Good for you.
Thank you.
So thanks everybody for tuning into this podcast, and do me a favor, go check out Chris's podcast. He's up to episode 7 right now. You got 5 out.
Number 6 comes out tomorrow.
All right, number 5 is for you tactical athletes. Please listen to that, and before he has like 100 episodes, you could dig into the rest and you can get all caught up. So until next time, take care and be safe.